Welcome to the collection of the wildest and craziest AITA Reddit stories of all time. From wild betrayals to shocking twists, these tales will leave you questioning who is really in the wrong. Let's dive in together. The first story for this collection is from C-Bird-4207, AITA. For telling my husband he needs to start dating and find someone new. I have 3 boys who no one would care for in the event of my demise. All 3 of my boys are mentally and emotionally challenged/disturbed. I have a mother who is physically incapable of caring for them, a sister that is 8 years older than myself, and one that is 10 months older. Neither of them is capable of caring for my children. My adoptive father has dementia, and the rest of my family is dead. I say adoptive father only because I have 2 other fathers whom were stepfathers and don't wish to get them confused. One of them died of cancer, and the other is in heart failure. My grandparents both died as well. I have no cousins or any extended family either. I am currently married to a man who would not raise them if something happened to me because he won't be a father to them now in effort to help me raise them, so I am convinced that he would be of no use. Not to mention that in the past he has repeatedly told me that he would not be able to care for them if something happened to me, and that he would have to give them up. My marriage has failed. My husband and I no longer do anything together. We have only a couple times per year. Sometimes we don't have sex at all. We don't go out on dates or actually do things together, even at home. We don't do puzzles, read books, have long meaningful conversations, family outings, walks, just a whole bunch of nothing. If he agrees to watch a movie, it is one that he picks. I still sit down and watch it. But as we have completely opposite tastes, I cannot pick a movie because then he won't watch one with me. So I do watch whatever he puts in because I want to spend time together, only to realize that he still isn't interested because he is always on his phone or computer. We have only been together for 10 years, but I feel like because we stayed together despite all of the stupid we lost those years, they were just wasted. My husband made a comment a while back that I never kiss him. How do I tell him that the reason for that is because before this statement, he had made another saying that I didn't know how to kiss anymore. So, I just stopped. I used to know how to kiss someone. At least I am pretty sure I did. Then the and making out slowed more and more until it was non-existent. I just don't know how to do any of that anymore. I was never comfortable with myself when it came to being flirty or attractive. I was never the bold or dominant one. But when you go so long without doing anything and are given not so nice comments over the years, you become uncomfortable and scared. His comments definitely never made things better, and he is now completely right. I don't know how to kiss. I don't know how to initiate sex, and I have just decided not to because I don't want to be shot down or told that I don't do something well enough or right anymore. I feel like a child who wants to be pleasing, but I am nervous, and I don't have the guts to even try, even though I feel like being passionate and having sex is something that would be a benefit. It's not like a woman in a relationship marriage can ask someone of the opposite to teach her how to do these things again, and intimacy with my husband makes me feel uncomfortable and awkward. I want him to want me and to love me. I just don't know how to accomplish any of that. Nowadays, we just argue and say hurtful things in response to the other saying or doing something hurtful to us. It's just a completely horrible cycle. My husband is not interested in being a father or teaching our 3 sons how to treat or talk to a woman. He calls me a bitch all the time, and he acts out in anger a lot. That's about the only true reaction that I can get from him on a regular basis. He is fed up with our children, who are mentally challenged. He doesn't want to spend time with them either, even when they were younger. He is not wanting to have anything to do with our youngest, who is almost 2 months old either. We have never been a real family. His immediate family hate me and the kids and want nothing to do with us. They have treated us worse than dogs, and at times literally treated us like dogs. His mother literally took him out to dinner with his older brother, and they brought my kids and I a doggy bag with scraps that they had already eaten off of. My husband has never stood up for me or the kids against the abuse we have received over the years. She calls me a and our boys are retards or other colorful things. I am just so overwhelmed and tired of trying to get him and his family to love the boys and I, and to get them to want to be a family. No good deeds have made a difference. No gifts, begging, crying, yelling have changed anything on either front. You know the feeling that you get when someone says they are going to pick you up to go spend the day together, and you get ready and sit all day and well into the night waiting, and they never text, call, or show. That is how it feels with these people. We want to be at least liked since we know they won't ever love us. Or maybe it would just be nice if they could pretend to like us? I know his mother and older brother won't ever do this because they have proven in an emergency that we are not to bother them. Doesn't matter if our house burned down in the middle of the night, or we had no heat or water during snowmaking, we aren't even considered as good as livestock to his family. How did we get here? I know that I should be grateful because he does not do the things my first husband did to me. He has never thrown me down flights of stairs, raped me, beat me, put me through doors, slept with other people in our bed, and made me sleep on the couch even though we were married. Current husband has also never burnt my things, broken them on purpose as a punishment, smashed my face into things, made me sit outside in the cold because his friends didn't like me. He hasn't thrown all my memorabilia from dead family members into the trash or pawned them. He has never woken me up by standing over me jacking off or pissing on me. He has never woken me up choking me and calling me fat and ugly. He has also never thrown anything at me while I was pregnant, just because it made him extremely happy and satisfied to physically hurt me. He also doesn't constantly tell me that he wishes I was dead or that he wanted to be the one to kill me. I will spare you the details on his many plans, as I am sure you get the gist. I know he is treating me much better than all of these things, but I still want more. I know that storybook relationships are not real, and that no relationship is perfect, but for some reason, I want more. I can't seem to let go of wanting to be a family who does family things and depends on one another. I can't seem to let go that I want to have with my husband and feel like I am attractive to him. I have begged and screamed. I have cried. I have been angry. I just don't know what else to do. I always make sure the bills are paid and that he can get his newest computers, games, and that he has everything he needs and most of his wants. By the time I make sure the kids and him are cared for, and then the animals, there just isn't much left. His work ethic and mine are complete opposites. Our likes and dislikes are opposite. I always get him things and the kids get him things for all the holidays, but I can't get him to tell me happy birthday on my birthday. I have never asked for there to be a gift for me for any holiday, even though if we are honest, I have often dreamed about waking up to a gift from him or one of the boys. My oldest two boys have issues mentally and emotionally as stated above. I am still trying to teach them to be good men when they grow up, and I want them to believe in God, even though my husband does not share the same beliefs in religion. The 13-year-old needs to go to a treatment center to get on the right meds for his bipolar because now that he has been going through puberty these last 2.5 years, he has become more violent and physically hurts my 8-year-old. And I can't get him the help he needs because insurance doesn't cover it, and the court and CPS won't help me. He has been arrested 9 or so times for assault, and this last one resulted in the emergency C-section of my youngest when he was just 33 weeks. He spent the first 3 weeks in NICU and is home now. The court still isn't taking things seriously or trying to help me. If anything goes on in court as far as what the plan is to help my oldest son, the court makes me sit out in the hallway while all court officials talk. I never get to talk in court. No one ever asks my opinion, and I have never been represented by legal counsel. However, they have threatened me with jail if I didn't let him come back into my home because they didn't want to keep him in detention. I have been threatened that if I violate the terms of probation, even though they are supposed to be for my son who has never been on probation and never charged with any of the felony assaults that he was arrested for, that I would go to jail. CPS has threatened me with jail if I let him come home and he hurts his younger brothers. CPS won't remove him and put him in a residential treatment center because my husband and I are not a threat to him. So there basically is no help for mentally disturbed people that are his age, and the court and CPS don't give a I have had 12 or more CPS cases opened on me over this child's issues, but everything is always closed because we are not abusing him. I can't even count the number of psychiatrists we have seen, behavioral therapists, voluntary counseling for each of us, and as a family, voluntary parenting classes, etc. The school lets him do whatever he wants. And even though he has been a safety threat and physically assaulted people at school, they won't help or work with me. The ARD meetings are completely useless, as they don't follow through with either of my children. Half of the people we speak to say that we need to bust his more and be stricter than we already are, while the other half say that I am not allowed to correct them unless they are doing something that will kill them or someone else. This is coming from the psychs and CPS and parenting classes. All of this has taken a toll on my marriage. It is a constant struggle to get the help he needs, and my husband is not used to living with people with mental illnesses, and his opinion is that they need to only be seen and not heard. He also is very negative and verbally negative, like his mother, father, and brother. I am caught in the middle of trying to teach my children how to treat a woman, and what a woman should accept or not accept in a marriage, and at the same time that is supposed to by my husband's job. He is supposed to teach them how to treat women, and I am supposed to teach them how a woman should treat them. But this is hard when I am trying to teach my husband how to be a father and what is acceptable as far as treating a woman that you are in a relationship with. Like, he should not, in my opinion, call me a nose, face, or in front of our children. I really would prefer that he not do that at all. I feel like as the man of the house, he should be the main provider and protector, even if that means protecting us from his own family members. I am also not asking him to be an to anyone or say things in a way. There are ways to be morally, ethically, and politically acceptable, while your baseline of the conversation could be simplified as a "f you" or "back the f off." Another thing that is stressing my relationship with my husband is that we do not currently make enough to survive, but yet we can't get food stamps. We have a hard time getting them to keep our Medicaid on, and he has never been able to keep a job or work enough hours to make more than at the very most $2,000 per month. The cost of living at the moment is horrible for everyone. Our car is breaking down. We can't afford medications or food. And everything we do get food-wise, everyone can eat except myself because of my blood sugars. They can eat cereal, noodles, breads, rice, Pop-Tarts, waffles, pancakes, raviolis, etc. I can't. It all makes me physically ill. But we can't afford meats like chicken, turkey, or fish. We can hardly afford beef. We can't afford cheese, yogurt, eggs, fruits, and veggies. I can barely afford to buy foods that they can eat. I sure as hell can't afford anything for myself. I haven't told my husband that I am hungry almost all the time, but that I have to limit myself to only eating one meal. I don't want to make him feel worse than he probably already does. I honestly can't talk to anyone because I don't want to live off of other people or their handouts. I don't want to be someone who takes and takes. This is why I try to donate everything possible and open my home, time, money, and resources, if available, to help anyone and any animal that I can. I feel like I am very blessed to have a roof over my head and AC in the summer. I have indoor plumbing, and I have a fridge, microwave, and stove. I also have a washer and dryer, so I honestly have more than most, but I selfishly want more. I want all my bills to be able to be paid on time each month, and I would like food. Yesterday, for example, I had a bowl of plain-cooked rice for dinner. Tonight, I was able to have some of that rice and add butter. But that is because I spent money for bills on food. I bought a gallon of milk and a tub of butter at our local grocery store, and it cost $15. A dozen eggs costs $9. But again, I know that this is a common issue for most households, so I know I'm really not allowed to complain. I know that this whole passage is going to come across as selfish and unappreciative. I swear that is not how I mean it. My mother loves me and my children, and my husband did allow me to have 2 more kids, even though he didn't want any. I know I should be content just because of this alone. I honestly think I am just too mentally up to have a relationship. I honestly think he needs to find someone who he can love and be attracted to before he gets older. It's so hard to find anyone once you are in your 30s. I used to be young and semi-pretty enough that I would get small amounts of love and tender acts if I slept with them. Since I had my first C-section, I have been even more undesirable, and every year I get more and more so. I am physically disgusting, and I don't have anything else to offer a man. I can clean and cook, but I am not able to do fencing and all of that by myself anymore because of my physical health. I am a burden now that I cannot be self-sufficient, and because I am not attractive in personality or looks-wise. So, while it is obviously too late for me to not be alone, the same cannot be said for my husband. He is good-looking and quite capable of things, even if he doesn't want to do them. I think if he found the right person, he wouldn't be so depressed and would be more willing to do things. Maybe he would even be excited about spending time with a wife and kids. He definitely deserves more. I have no one I can talk to because it would make them feel sorry for me, or perhaps they would see me as a complainer. I don't want to be a problem or a burden. I just don't know what else to do. I am lost. My marriage is ending, but we have no choice but to live together because we can't afford to get him a place of his own or pay for the divorce. I am running out of formula and I am hungry. I cry almost every night and I want to die. I just want to be loved. I want my children to be loved. I want to have plenty to eat and someone to talk to. I want someone who wants to be around my children and who wants to spend time with us. I want someone who I can talk to, who won't think that all I want is money or a handout. I want to not live in this all alone and empty. I must honestly be as shitty of a person as I feel like I am, because I can't seem to have a friend or a husband who wants to do things together. I want all of this despite the fact that I have nothing to offer in a relationship. I have become a nag, perhaps even a heartless. I don't mean to be bitter, resentful, or anything like that. I am just deeply hurt and I can't fix it. I can't be a good mother because I have nothing to offer and I am depressed. OP is not an AH for wanting to end her marriage with his emotionally indifferent and careless husband. OP's concerns are completely valid, and she and her children deserve to be loved. Here, OP's husband is an AH for being distant, neglectful, and dismissive of her family and their needs. OP is an AH, and I would rate him 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. Let's now jump on the next story from House Abject 6882. AITA for moving on quickly after the breakup with my ex. I, 28M, have been together with my ex, 29F, for about 5 years and lived together for about 3 years. Last year, my ex kissed with one of my best friends, and since then, our relationship hasn't been the same. It took me months to get over her and forgive her, but eventually I got over it and didn't think much about it anymore. In May this year, we were at a party with all our friends getting extremely drunk and having fun. I've noticed how drunk my ex was getting, as she was giving me more attention than usual, which I've always liked a lot because usually she didn't give me a lot of affection, and I'm a guy who needs a lot of affection in a relationship. Anyway, everything went very well that night, and as we went to sleep, I was really happy with how everything went that evening. In the morning, however, I woke up to some text from a friend with some screenshots of a text conversation of her, now ex-boyfriend, and my ex saying, "I'm sorry to tell you this, but you should now." Guys, the whole day before she has been with him, saying she wants to go to the bathroom and give him a BJ, etc. As an extra, it's the same friend with whom she had kissed the year before. Naturally, I was extremely pissed and refused to drive home with her, got back to where the party was, and opened up a beer at 8 a.m. and put on some music. It's the way I cope with my feelings. My friends joined me to try and cheer me up and let me vent about the situation. I got home that evening and started shouting at her. I could feel myself losing control and jumped in the shower to avoid doing something I would regret. I've asked 2 friends to come inside with me to calm me down, and they did their job very well. Later that evening, I've sat down with MGX to have a conversation, and we decided to try and continue our relationship. She assured me nothing happened, and it swaps just because she was so drunk. I still believe nothing more happened between them. What pissed me off even more about this situation is that our sex life was practically non-existent. I think we did it like 4 times a year. So the fact that when she was drunk, she would do it with another guy really devastated me. Fast forward to this September, we were on our 2nd vacation since this happened, and everything was going better until suddenly something else happened. Nothing as bad as before, which made me realize that she didn't really try to fight to rescue what was left of our relationship. Even a spontaneous hug was something she never gave me. I was the only one who gave some affection in the relationship and tried everything to make it as it was before. From the moment I realized this, I stopped putting in the extra effort in our relationship, and sure enough, a week after we returned from our holiday, we get into an argument, and she decided to break up because she doesn't feel like this is going to work anymore. Since that moment, I've been spiraling out of control, getting pissed drunk every day in the weekend, and doing a lot of sports during the week just to get distracted from my heartbreak. My friends were really worried about me and tried to push me into getting out there again and just start doing the things I love again without thinking about my ex. After a month of losing control, I decided they were right and just blocked every feeling I ever had for her, except friendship, because we were still very good friends, and doing fun stuff with my friends. About 2 months after the breakup, a bit less, I've got to know someone. 27F, and I was immediately interested in her. So I just manned up and asked her on a date, and she said yes. So last Monday we went on that date, and everything went really well. Nothing happened, but we decided to have another date. When I was home the Thursday after the date, however, the guilty feeling got the better hand of me. So I decided to come clean and tell my ex I've been on a date. You guys, she was furious. She couldn't understand how I could move on so quickly. And if 5 years meant nothing to me, she even threw me out of our house, which is illegal, but to avoid drama, I've just left. I asked her how what I've done was worse than what she had done, because at least I waited until the relationship was over. And she told me that what she did was without feelings, and what I've done involves feelings, so I'm an AH. AITA for moving on quickly after me and my ex broke up. OP is not the AH for moving on, especially given the reason of the breakup. He endured years of betrayal, lack of affection, and effort from his ex, who cheated emotionally and dismissed his needs. Moving on 2 months after their breakup is reasonable, especially given her past actions. OP's ex is an AH, and I would rate her 2.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets nothing. Let's now move on to the next story from Harlequin 801. AITA for leaving my emotionally and verbally abusive husband after 18 years after he's been trying to change and his mom just passed away. I 32F and my husband 32M have been together for 18 years until literally yesterday when I had finally had it completely. We have 2 dogs together and both have our names on our recently signed new lease. We were young and in love in junior high. I fell completely for him and doted on his every need and want for the entirety of our relationship. He would slowly and gradually build up to this awful human, degrading me, calling me stupid, gaslighting me, having an issue with every single thing I did, every single day. I stopped seeing my family, my friends, and just made excuses of why, when it was really because he said I would have consequences if I went somewhere without him, and he didn't like my family. He controlled what I wore, who I talked to. I had to prove that I wasn't cheating on him for years. Had to send him pictures of me in places, at work, at a friend's house, you name it. I started to become depressed, anxious, worried, scared, and suicidal. I would physically hurt myself when we got into arguments because I felt I deserved it, and something was wrong with me, and that I was the one causing all of the problems. I finally had enough in March of this year, 2024. I left him and spent a week thinking about how if he just didn't do those shitty things that I would love to be with the other parts of him, that even now, I know that anyone would thoroughly enjoy and hope for in a relationship, the sweet things he does. Anyway, after a week of talking with him and setting boundaries and explaining how everything he ever did like that was totally unacceptable and horrific, and he understood and realized what he had done was unforgivable and never okay. He did a lot of research about narcissistic tendencies and his insecurities, and asked if I would give him a chance to prove that he could be what I need and to never do those things again. I decided that I would try and love him for the good parts and what he was attempting to be, so I went back. Fast forwarding through the months, I noticed an obvious good change. He was being nice and thoughtful and kind and giving me love. But the little things deep down in him, with all of his insecurities, started to come back up. Little small things would happen, like constantly having to argue to be right and constant defending an action or a choice he made. I am positive I have some sort of PTSD from his abuse, so I get triggered very easily by the small mundane things that would be totally normal in any other relationship, like asking how your day was or what did you do while you hung out with so-and-so. I get angry and upset about it so quickly because the only questions from him in the past were an interrogation, essentially. I cannot forget what he did. I can never forgive him from stealing so much of my life and love away from me. So I just am angry 24/7 and hate being home and being around him or talking to him essentially ever. His mom just passed away last week. I left him yesterday after being triggered once again, and him essentially blaming me for not controlling my triggers, that he caused BTW, and trying to say that if I can talk with other people and not get triggered, then it should be the same for him. He thinks that just because his intention isn't what it was in the past, that everything is fine and dandy when he's the one who made me this way. Anyway, he's fairly upset from his mom, who BTW he cut out of his life, and now regrets doing so, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I was so unhappy all the time, and I don't want to end up like him to try and keep myself happy in this relationship. I am constantly angry and telling him to leave me alone and to stop talking to me when I just want a happy, loving relationship and to not have to have anxiety all the time or be angry. I don't want to live life like that. There is never a good time for things like this. We are married. We've shared a bank account since we were 18. I have to file for divorce, get a new bank account, figure out living situations, and still help pay for the apartment because I still have my name on the lease, and I'm not going to ruin my credit even more than it is from the amount of debt we are in together. I just want to feel some sort of justification that I am doing the right things for myself. AITA for leaving him right after his mom's passing and trying to just rip it off like a band-aid and try to not be involved with him in any way other than what's needed. I will always feel bad for people that are going through a hard time, but it's so hard with him because he never actually cared about me and the way that it should have been. OP is not an AH for leaving her emotionally and verbally abusive husband, and the number of years into taking the decision doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is standing up for yourself, which OP did, and it is truly incredible. Here, not OP. Instead, OP's husband is an AH for his dismissive behavior, and I would rate OP's husband 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. What do the MacReddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to MacReddit for a daily dose. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.